I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zeiss Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark.
I should have expected that.
I mean, we made it through 6 without me doing that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
it's a lucky 7.
On that note, I guess I should be proud of you for avoiding doing that for that long. But this is indeed episode 7 of the series on my Skull and Shackles game. Seven Fingers salutes you, says
That's right, the 7 Fingers
salute. On 7 Fingers sales, or
7 Fingers sales
this week.
Alright.
Yep.
So, just to remind everyone, because it's been a little while since the last episode, we've got our 5 main pirates here, who are Captain Mirani Rin Ilium, who is the captain. She is a swashbuckler and extremely devoted to Besmara and the idea of just going around and doing plot hooks, which are divinely inspired, of course, in order to get treasure, because Besmara must be amused by us, or else she will just toss us aside like yesterday's flotsam. Her brother, Hector Ilium, who is completely skeptical of all this Besmara stuff, even though he's an oracle, or not, a shaman of waves, and his wave spirit is actually Besmara, who was previously a wave spirit before she stole godhood from some other deities. As well as their familiars, Ferusa the Coral Capuchin is Rin's familiar, obtained via the usual Eldritch Heritage shenanigans, and Hector's familiar is Pontus the Tide Pool Dragon, who is a emissary of the sea and pen pal of the mighty Hilgenzask, and he's the most powerful dragon, in parentheses, for his size, because you have to categorize it as power divided by volume.
Yes,
because
obviously.
Otherwise it's just, of course, great worms are stronger. You can't really do that when you're wrestling. You wouldn't just you have weight categories.
That's how we got Ty to agree with that.
Yep.
Power density.
That's how we got Ty, the next pirate, and Ty the brawler, who is our master gunner, Mr. Ty. She is a rough and tumble brawler from Port Peril, who just likes fighting and is loyal to her friends and is very hard to place in the alignment system. Mm-hmm. And we eventually, I think she's still neutral.
Yeah.
But whether she was chaotic or evil, could have been. And she did agree to Pontus's claims based on weight class. That made sense to her, that you would have a weight class in wrestling. So, that's how that works.
And then we have the two GMPCs, the Tall Tale Telling Tiefling Tethys, who is a medium in medium armor. She is a harrowed medium, and the
world's only.
And she's always the one who is she's always the one who's going around telling stories about about the PC's exploits. She has been getting somewhat frustrated with the rest of the party recently because it's hard to exaggerate a tale when it's already so outlandish. We've also got the halfling hydrokineticist Aaron Wetfoot, who
Lightning
at this point. So he is the Stormbringer and the Sea Shaper, and generally the living siege weapon of the group. He generally prefers to avoid the spotlight when he can, but is proud of his abilities to wreck. I guess decidedly not wreck, to assist the PCs with safely capturing ships, because why would you sink your loot to the bottom of the sea?
That's right. That's our most important loot is ships. They're worth a lot.
Although this particular part of the story does not take place at sea, because of this particular part of the story, the PCs have just won a harrowing race around the Eye of Abendigo and been gifted...
this is a race that is harrowing. It was not a race to see how quickly you could harrow, in which case Tethys would have also won that race.
That is true. An extremely dangerous race around the Eye of Abendigo that they've just won, and they've been gifted a pirate island of their very own.
Not a good pirate island.
No,
even like a medium pirate island. It was like the worst pirate island that they could find.
This is like, here's an island. It's also ridiculously deadly in all ways.
And the last person that tried to go to this island died. And the one who tried to go to the island before stayed for a while and then died.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be haunted.
Turns out the island is not technically skull-shaped, but
it might as well
it might as well have been. Because
I mean, once you clear out an island that's skull-shaped, it would be cool to have a skull-shaped island as your base.
That is true. I mean, it might help to dissuade others from coming to attack you.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case... certainly it's a very perilous location in many different ways.
Terrible peril.
We talked a little bit about in the last episode about some of the smaller places that the PCs explored when they first approached the island, because their approach was more cautious.
We circled around
exactly
after we left most of our fleet in the sort of entrance bay after befriending the octopus there. We kind of circled around. We found, like, Sargassum fins and other issues.
Yeah.
And then we decided, well, what about this fort, though, that it was originally created by the Chelish, and then a pirate went there, and now he's gone, it might be haunted. We decided we needed to figure it out, because it was very close to the bay where we had left all of our ships, and it could potentially be extremely dangerous.
Mm-hmm. And it looked
and
like it could be a good base, too, because it had a nice solid wall around it, and a tower, and all that kind of stuff. So our PCs here have been having a lot of success for a while. And I think, the first sign that something was... The first sign that something may have been wrong around this place was the shades, the pirate shade haunt, just the remnants of the tortured
just all
spirits
around the place
of pirates that just completely surrounded the place. So that definitely gave the PCs a sense that
but we were able to handle that.
A sense that like something was wrong in this place.
We had a medium. Yeah. Mediums are actually pretty good at getting in contact with haunts and can solve them and also find out more about them. And so that was not as scary as it is for some groups that don't have a medium. Mm-hmm. However, we then sort of came in, we were coming from the east, and we turned left and went into some empty buildings.
Yeah, because they were thinking, well, we don't want to go under the big tower yet. Let's just check these outlying buildings, make sure that they don't have anything too dangerous in them before we go into the larger things. There were some small
one-story buildings, and they didn't have anything in there. We saw this other two-story building near there, and we were just sort of quietly sweeping around. We were worried if there was intelligent opposition here that it might notice us, so we tried to like duck into buildings and generally not be very obtrusive, just in case. But when we got into that slightly larger building that was near there, we wound up being attacked by horrible incorporeal nightmarish creatures that Hector was able to identify as animate dreams. And we wound up like pulling 2 encounters with them, so we had to fight 4 of them at the same time.
So you might if you remember sort of the general capacity of this group doesn't have a huge amount of spell casting, and they don't really have.
We have one spellcaster, but a kineticist and a medium.
Yeah.
But like one actual full spellcaster.
So when it comes to capacity to handle incorporeal creatures that are not undead.
Yeah, well...
These are definitely a tricky matchup
plus,
for this group.
If you don't have Ghost Touch, you can't sneak attack them, and you can't use precision damage, which our Swashbuckler does. So, we got into this fight, and they were doing their Phantasmal Killers, their Confusions, all of their horrible will save spells, and Rin was lucky to survive. Tethys was not so lucky and needed a Breath of Life, and was left with a negative level from that because she died and got Breath of Life back. And Ty like flipped through all of the things that she had found as possible feats to be like, is there a feat? Is there something I could use to win this? She found one from a weird player companion feat, but it required 2 ranks in knowledge religion. Which after this fight, when the next time she leveled up, she put a second rank in knowledge religion. She had 1. So that she could take that feat if we had to fight these ones again.
So the PCs at this point were pretty darn freaked out, and if they didn't,
we won, and we prevented any of them from escaping, which was also close to not happening. But we never even had someone die before, which she was immediately raised back by Breath of Life, but we didn't even get to that point in any fight up until this point in the game. And like Hector was preparing a breath of life, but like Rin was saying, it's like, do you really need that? Like, people don't die, right? We just kill things.
And Hector's like, I'm gonna keep preparing breath of life.
Kitsune Warlock may have figured out which feat it was. Oh, it only required 1 rank in knowledge of religion. Okay, yeah, maybe it was 2, well, only 1 rank and not 2.
You didn't have.
I felt like I was putting 2 ranks into it.
It could have been because you didn't have a lot of skill points too. But regardless, you didn't have enough ranks to qualify.
That's correct.
That was the important thing.
I did not at the time have enough ranks to qualify.
Yeah.
But I immediately took enough ranks to qualify.
So you guys may have been like about to just like completely get out of this place, but you at least wanted to finish checking this building that you'd already got.
It also had traps and stuff in it.
It also was filled with traps, and you're wondering like, okay, well, so why is this building with incorporeal creatures also filled with traps?
We also like, other than the Tethys being dead and then having a negative level, we had a lot of our other resources. We just wanted to finish off this particular building. It had an upper floor, and we figured that anything incorporeal up there would have come through the floor, and probably did to combine that encounter to 4 of them. They weren't all 4 in the room right to start.
Yeah.
So we went up there, and there were even more traps that were in there. There were like 3 more traps.
Actually, now that you're not still playing that, they were some of them were in an adjacent building, which is why they weren't there immediately to start with. But they heard the sounds of combat.
Okay.
But yeah, so there were even more traps. There was like tripwires across the stairs and like collapsing floor traps, and this place had clearly been rigged up pretty severely. And when you made it past all of the traps, you found a man who clearly had seen some unpleasant stuff and was not in a good state at all.
He was extremely psychologically scarred. He was not coherent, and he had a very put-upon monkey familiar who mostly was coherent, but that only spoke to people who could talk to monkeys.
Yes, which
Farusa can.
Farusa can. I mean, oddly specific thing is, can you can only do this if you can speak to animals, or if you have a specific ability to speak to monkeys. So Farusa and his monkey familiar had a nice chat about what had been going on, because he was not really in a good enough mental state to express himself.
The monkey sounds with subtitles. Like,
yes. Yeah. So the monkey didn't really know like exactly what had been going on with this guy in full detail, because it was kind of complicated. But he knew that he'd been having some really bad dreams and was freaking out that some stuff was going to come for him, and that there were all these like spirits around that were unsettled, and
he was having a lot of issues, and he wanted to come with us, but then like he almost like attacked because he was getting too panicked out, and we had to like sedate him and just get him back to the ship. We decided that this place is horrible. This guy might know more, but that we needed to give him counseling so that he would be able to tell us more, and or the monkey, if Hector could speak with animals, could give us more information before we attacked this place. And he knew about some other things on the island. We decided we were going to clean out more first, while Tai like practiced and talked to people about brawling skills until she thought she had a ghost killing abilities feat that she could take. Because we were actually, like, it might sound like, oh, we had bad luck that Tethys died. Not really. We had good luck that only Tethys died, got breath of life, and we killed all of them before they escaped. On an average run, we probably would have had Tethys and Rin die, and some of them escaped. And who knows how many more encounters there were that were at least that difficult. That was just the first thing we fought when we came in there.
Yeah, they were.
So we decided we're not doing that until we have to.
Gonna draw additional encounters once they started being on the ropes, but you managed to track them down so that they didn't have a chance to bring in the nearby phase spiders or any of the other awful things connected to the ethereal plane that could have possibly come in and attacked you.
So we decided to, since we found out there were Cyclops living there based on some, like a dock that they had on the back of the island, we were going to clear out the rest of the island interior, and based on some intelligence from that Nereid friend we had made, and the reluctant tropical treants.
Yes.
And we were going to clear out the other non-coastal encounters, especially the half-fiend cyclopean harpies who had harassed us and also would have been a major threat, except we had a siren at the time, which really kind of is the only reason we weren't in serious trouble from them when they attacked the first time. We did not want more of those attacks to happen while we were out on the island with no siren. So we needed to wipe them out. And they were clearly fiends who also were harpies and also were cyclops. And, like, what could be worse than something that has fiendish abilities, can get a natural 20, and is a harpy?
Yep.
There's not much. So we were going to clear out that nest and clear out all the other encounter areas and then go for the Cyclops base.
But fortunately, with a siren, it wasn't too bad because you were at least able to...
Because we intentionally brought the siren when we wanted her to stay with the ships to help because our basic troops, when we were gone, would just be killed by one of these attacks. And we would probably be killed too, but our basic people would just die in dozens. But when we went to wipe them out, our theory was it was very unlikely the Harpies were actually sending a raiding party at exactly the same time that we were attacking them. So we brought the siren with us. We also called for reinforcements from our bard friend Valvarisa so that she could stay and help with the people in the bay, just in case there were other Harpies that weren't all at that location.
I'm not that mean of a GM.
We didn't know.
No, I mean, your characters didn't know, but I'm not that mean of a GM.
No one knows how mean Besmara is.
That's true.
Besmara is the one who decides this, right?
That's true.
So what was the encounter area of, like, the Harpy
of the Harpies? Let me see. Wasn't that... It was cliff tops, wasn't it?
Something like that.
I mostly remember, like, their art and the... They also had, like... Were they the ones who had the...
Were they the Mountain Airy?
No, that was the... that's the Pterodons.
Right. That's the
They
Pterodons.
were the daughters of Emerda.
They were the daughters of Emerda.
Oh, yeah, they had the cliff top... they had the cliff top caves.
They sure did. So we took out the Daughters of Emerta, and they had, like, some treasure, I think, that they had stored up there, because who doesn't?
Yeah. It looks like I added the treasure, but...
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, that would have been really disappointing to take out that hard of an encounter and had no treasure. I mean, it wasn't that hard because we brought a siren. That siren was one of our best recruits that we ever recruited, really. Valvarisa probably could have handled it, but the siren is just...
It's always fun, I find,
when
GMing an adventure to really run with when the PCs decide to add unconventional allies to their team or to their general group. Like, they can be pretty overpowering if they're constantly using encounters, but situationally using them in clever ways can be a lot of fun.
So I think we also found, like, a dinosaur corral that
you did. You found a bunch of pterodons that were up.
They had that, but they also had a separate dinosaur corral for land dinosaurs.
They had a land dinosaur corral, and you didn't attack them because they were.
We didn't want to hurt the dinosaurs.
We could
use the dinosaurs ourselves.
Yeah.
Which we eventually did to help us in the same way the Cyclops had been originally using them.
You didn't, like, generally attack animals that weren't attacking you.
We could talk to animals when we used. When Hector changed to a nature shaman.
Just like you didn't attack the spyglass octopus. Yeah. So it's like, they can stay behind.
Kitsune Wilbot said, did we have a fort of dinosaurs? Perhaps.
I mean, there was a fort on this island, and there
also had dinosaurs when we brought them there.
So you could consider.
You could say it was a dinosaur fort.
But so for real though,
what other areas were there other than the Cyclops city?
There's the giant Cyclops statue and the giant that was by the Great Stone Bridge where you.
Oh yeah, the giant bridge that led to the upper part of the island.
There was the mangrove swamp with the snake, the giant anaconda, and then the crab spawning grounds with a ton of crabs.
We dealt with those when we went around.
But you already dealt with those, yeah. So I think we've covered the.
So at that point, we took that bridge into the interior. And we were ready to go to the Cyclops dungeon.
Yes, the ruins of Sumitha.
So based on what we had heard from all of our contacts on the island, whether they were animals or trees or a fae, and also just the number of dinosaurs they had in their outlying area, we were able to determine that at one point in time, there were probably a lot of Cyclops who lived all over this place, but that at this point, there were actually still a lot of Cyclops living
vastly
in
outnumbering
their
the
base.
PCs for sure.
Dramatically outnumbering us, and they're not. I mean, they're not the smartest, but they're not stupid, and they could gain other encounters. And more than that, we knew that they had the ability to just get a natural 20.
Yes.
Which is basically the only way you could possibly hit Rin with an attack. And she didn't have that many hit points. It's just that you can't hit her with a melee attack unless you either have the ability to roll a natural 20 or roll a natural 20. Which the latter only happens 5% of the time against most opponents.
Yes.
But a fight where we got amassed by Cyclops and they just came in and all hit her with natural 20s, like, that is, other than just any will save or fortitude save, that's the only way to defeat Rin. Which
she did generally get lucky on her will saves in this campaign in many cases.
She got okay. I mean, she did use Charmed Life, and when she knew there were will saves, she refused to do a riposte. So she always could do Charmed Life. But there was a Quillepot dungeon later in this that she was not doing well, but fortunately, Tethys had, like, deduced this was going to happen and had a weird Harrowed medium combo that was giving massive abilities to benefit Rin's saving throws that saved her, like, 8 times from being killed or taken out of the fight.
We'll get to that a little later.
Yes. So, the point is that, like, nobody in their, like, right strategic mind would want to be facing off against large groups of Cyclops because of the fact that even if the Cyclops group loses, someone in your party is dead. Especially if they have times 3 or times 4 weapons. Granted, if they couldn't hit anyway, they're hardly going to confirm. But if you get attacked by 10 Cyclops and they need a 19 to confirm, one of them is going to confirm. So
they wanted to make sure that they didn't combine and counter.
as stealthy as possible. We needed to not only be stealthy, we needed to sneak in and take out their leadership. Because Cyclops, they're not the brightest. They're smart enough to know some tactics. But a leader of the Cyclops could really rally them. And that was going to be a significant problem for us.
So structurally, this place they were going into had sort of a... not really a cave, but sort of an inlet an inlet into that was surrounded by high walls, and then there were caves into that. So you had like this part in the center that was open to the sky and had grass and trees and some buildings and stuff like that.
It's vastly oversimplifying, but think of it as like a circular area that was open to the sky, but had buildings in it.
Yeah.
And then all around that circle were caves. And you could go through connecting caves and tunnels to avoid that central circle.
Yes.
As much as possible. And guess what we did? If you picked, go around the through the caves to avoid the central area as much as possible. You're right. Because we were afraid that we were going to run into a massive amount of Cyclops. Just not only a massive amount of, pushback from the Cyclops, but we would just be flat out visible to anyone on the other side of that very large central area.
So you pretty quickly ducked into some of those.
I think we went along the right.
Yeah, you went along the right because you came in this way. Because one of the first things that you encountered after making it past there, you snuck past the Cyclops guard post.
Yep.
You avoided stepping into the Cyclops net traps.
Yep.
And then you made it into a cavern where there was a friendly friend on the ceiling.
Was that like right away, or was it one of the ones along the right side?
It's this one here.
Yeah, I see. It's like the second.
Yeah, so this was sneaking past Cyclopses here, and then you made it. Yeah, so you made it into this place here where there was a ridiculously advanced giant trapper that was up on the ceiling.
There's like a lurker above, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? It's a type of...
Yeah, well, it's written as like a super advanced giant trapper. I may have used lurker above.
That may be like the terminology for the ceiling trappers.
Yeah. But regardless,
It was named like the Great Mother or something.
Yeah,
like that.
the Great Mother. There's this giant monster that's up on the ceiling and that's planning to hunt anyone who comes within reach.
Yep.
And reach in this case is anyone who walks through a large area of the cavern because it's a giant ceiling monster that wants to feed upon you.
Yes, it is. Very big. It has his grab and... Hey everyone, let's see who was watching previous episodes. Guess what happened in this fight? Alright. Surveys have come in and there are no guesses. If you picked that despite the fact that Ty's CMD against grapple was like 60, that she got grappled by a giant monster.
I did not expect her to get grappled that often. She just I just kept rolling really high on the
It just goes to show that even though the favored class bonus to add to your CMD is actually absurdly powerful and how much CMD it adds, is in fact not enough to actually prevent you from getting grappled.
Well, if it was 60, then it got ridiculously lucky.
It wasn't quite 60. That was an exaggeration.
Yeah, if it was 50, then...
It was in the lower 50s, I think.
Well,
at that level.
Yeah, if it was 60, it couldn't have possibly grabbed you. In the lower 50s, like, it maybe could have grabbed you.
But I think, because it was DC... I got to add my entire level to it. And then it was my specialization for Brawler. So it was very high.
It was really high. But she did manage to... She did get grabbed... And you guys were fighting against this giant ceiling monster that was trying to smother her. But
it was actually intelligent and spoke Aklo, I think.
Yeah.
And
so
we beat the Great Mother to within an inch of her life.
And then she tried to escape,
but she couldn't.
And then when it became clear she couldn't escape, then she tried to talk her way out of it.
We actually approached her with an offer. It was the sort of old pirate offer of, like, we could keep up this fight, or she could tell us what we wanted to know about the layout of this place and where the Cyclops were and all of that information. Which she decided she didn't care about the Cyclops. She just liked eating food, and there was a Dark Lens tunnel out to, like, the east that she'd come in from. So she told us everything she knew about the way that the Cyclops were disposed and where their leader was, she thought, and what their leader looked like, she thought. And then eventually,
of course, when you get an aberration describing to you what someone looks like, the features that they choose are not necessarily. It's like, I had one eyeball and 4 limbs. Like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, but like, you know, she was able to tell us about, like, the weapon that was at least different. But then eventually Rin made an offer that the Great Mother accepted to join her crew and to live in our hold above the treasure, where if any unauthorized people tried to break into our treasure again, which had happened before, that they were in for a great surprise. Because this was a very advanced lurker above. Like, how advanced was she? I think that you advanced things more because also we were higher level.
Yeah, she would have been, like, if I advanced it a little more, she would have been, like, CR12.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, too, like, the Great Mother realized she has been beaten within the inch of her life. And if she tries to run off to the Darklands now, or she shows her weakness in front of the Cyclops, she's reasonably likely just to get killed.
Yep. We also, during this time that she was fighting with us against the Cyclops, did not heal her that much. Mm-hmm. So that we could easily take her down if she tried to escape, but that if she did what she normally does, which is stay on the ceiling out of the Cyclops' reach, she was not really in danger from them.
Yes. Because the other thing about going with the PCs to fight the Cyclops is that then gave her a lot of Cyclops meat.
Yes, she got to eat the Cyclops.
Yes.
She is all about the hugs.
She's all about the hugs.
That's what Joe says, and
she'll hug you with her insides.
That's right. But another thing we found out was that there was, like, a weird situation going on with this fountain that was out there, and she told us about, like, a collapse if we kept taking this tunnel route that was going to block our progress forward.
Yeah.
Where was that collapse?
The collapse is over on this side here. You couldn't keep going past this.
And that I think that there were like certain guardians that we were gonna run into, so that we may have needed to, because there's a collapse here. But even if we stayed past that collapse, there was another collapse
that was past there, and then you would have had to run into the gargoyle scouts.
Right, and we didn't want to deal with the gargoyle scouts until later because of the fact that they had a lot of maneuverability and
they were
fast. They were flying.
Yeah, and could have easily alerted a lot of people by rushing out. If there's a large group of scouts and you don't take out all of them, then they.
So thanks to excellent intel from the horrific lurker above who just joined our crew, we decided to juke out into the center and go across to. Did we go to the other side of the caves? Did that have a straight path to the back, or did we have to stay on the outside?
The other side of the caves did have a path. It wasn't exactly straight though. You had to go through all of this stuff first. So you did like this. You did a winding path around the other direction.
Yep. But as we crossed near that fountain that she had said was weird, that is when Hector started receiving these sort of telepathic Aquan messages from that fountain, and came to believe that an entity within that fountain, identifying itself as a friendly married genie, that's probably not like a horrible demon or something else, was saying that she had been trapped in there
and asking for help
to free herself, and giving some pretty impassioned requests via Hector, which we quietly, as a group, decided what we were going to do about that, and eventually decided that
because she's like, just call upon my mighty power and I will be free.
We were very suspicious, and Hector is suspicious overall, but even with his sense motive, she seemed to be telling the truth. And he was convinced that she was being genuine, so we decided to have Hector wish for her to be free while we were sure there were not any Cyclops around. And sure enough, it was actually a married named, like, Valia.
Yeah. You did not accidentally, you did not accidentally free glove residue. Congratulations.
Haha.
That's totally what a glove residue
He thought it might have been a glove residue.
Yep.
He did. But it was a married named Valia, who was very, very happy and grateful to Hector. And he, as is usual for his character, was just kind of very awkward and, having some anxiety issues around, like, blue, like, watery women because of the fact that he and Rin had been, guests of Blue Hasmane, a powerful Rusalka.
It's surprising how many blue, watery women, like, Hector had to deal with in this AP.
Yes.
I did not add any additional blue, watery women. They just all were there.
They were either blue or watery or redheads.
Yes. That's true.
So, yeah, he was very awkward around her gratitude, but she agreed to join our crew and generally stick around and give us wishes once a year to make up for the wish that we had to spend to get her out.
Suddenly, ship of Samsaran pirates.
No, but at least they're not watery.
That did not happen.
All right. So,
Yet.
But fortunately, Valia had, like, a bunch of random, like, spell-like abilities that could help her in, what we were doing. I think, did she have an ability to make herself invisible and, like, change her size to large and some other things?
Yeah, she had a variety.
She
had a variety of abilities. I know
Cone
she.
of Cold.
Yeah.
She was useful, and we switched over to the other side where, if I remember correctly, like, we started by, even though south was the wrong direction to go on the western caves.
Yeah, you wanted to clear out the south.
Since it was a dead end, but there was like a forge or a training ground or something there.
There was a training ground
with a powerful Cyclops.
Yeah, there was a training hall with a powerful Cyclops who was one of their leaders in it. So you decided to go down there first.
Using silence, we were able to sneak in to that area and take down one of their sub leaders, who was down there in the training hall. And I'm forgetting which style which of the different sub-leaders did. But
she was the axe and shield fighter.
Oh, yes. And I know you did some rebuilds where you gave them even more dangerous versions of whatever they had previously had.
Yeah, but I still kept the things to fit with the art. So she was still an action shield fighter.
I think that maybe the original one just attacked only with the axe, but you changed it to two-weapon fighting.
Fighting with the shield and the axe so that she had more attacks.
Yeah, and double slice and all those things.
Exactly, all those types of things.
Yeah. And, what is that one? Like, that shield mastery feat that, like, lets you add the enhancement bonus of the shield bonus to your, as if it was a weapon bonus on the shield and all
that sort of fighter feat gem.
Haha! And other Cyclopes. Thanks to us totally ambushing them, we managed not to get wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
Even though her natural 20 on that axe
was nasty.
It was very scary, but fortunately she did confirm it.
Yes.
Which was with all of her fighter levels and being advanced in levels because we were higher level and it, like, brought other people and we're a larger sized group. Like, it was not a guarantee that she would not confirm it.
And another one of the dangers here was that they had to also make sure that they blocked the exit and didn't let any of them out.
Yep.
So
fortunately, it was a dead end.
So they were able to block so they did split the group a little bit because they had to have someone stand back by the exit. I think it was Tethys that you stationed back by the exit. So that if anything made it past the others, hopefully it wasn't going to be able to run down the hallway and alert.
That's right. And the Great Mother was on the ceiling.
Yes.
For similar reasons with her attack of opportunity plus grab.
Mm-hmm. It's still... Yeah, because the issue was, too, that there were still, like, even more Cyclopes in a northern room, so you did still combine... the ones that were really close.
We went into the northern room...
Oh, that's
because
what you're right.
Of the fact that the training room that was south, the only way that it could alert anybody and get to us was by coming through there.
That's right. That's how you combine the two. So you were fighting like 10 standard Cyclopes and also a fighter Cyclops.
Yes.
But at the very least, the fighter and her 4 support Cyclopes had to travel and go up through a choke point to get to you guys.
There were 2 very important things that we knew from the combination of the genie and the Great Mother that helped us, though. If you've seen this map at home, you would be able to know this too. But the room that we came in that had a ton of Cyclopes was actually not adjacent to the room of the training hall. There was also a small room with not even a label on it that was just between them. And there was a small room, not even with a label on it, that was just between that room and the room that's just to the north of it.
Yes.
Because of those 2 rooms with double doors, there was also a choke point for sound without going through walls. So we were able to put silences up at both of those double doors. Thus, meaning that there was no way for the sound to carry.
Which meant that the Great Cyclops and his support in the area just to the north of that did not join this fight.
Was the Great Cyclops one to the north of that?
The Great Cyclops was, it was one to the north of the buffer room.
Yeah. So I knew there was a Great Cyclops, and there's like one other Cyclops leader, right? That was like even further.
The leader was up in this area. Yeah.
So that was pretty rough, but basically by using the surprise round and winning initiative, we tried to take out as many as possible using tactics of crowd control, generally grappling them, trying to, or tripping them when they were away from the party. Just the basic plan was to make sure that they did not get to make an attack that used the natural 20, or
that you at least wouldn't have very many who were able to make that.
Or we threw an effect at them that was so horrific that they chose to use the natural 20 on their saving throw, so that they wouldn't have it on their attack roll. That was our entire fight strategy for all of these fights, and it was particularly important there with 10 and the fighter, and she still got to use her natural 20, and we lucked out and didn't have someone die to a ×3 crit, because let me tell you, the amount of damage she actually did was high enough that if it was triple, it was going to kill. So we actually managed to take that out without alerting anything. Which was pretty good. So far, so good. Thanks to our trusty Aberration and Genie friend. So we then did go to the north to fight against that great Cyclops that you were mentioning.
Ishtoreth had Cyclops Caryatid backup.
Oh, that's right.
It wasn't Cyclops, it was Cyclops Caryatid.
The Cyclops Caryatid, the columns.
So that you were dealing with... So it's like, okay, you're not... And in this case, at least you didn't have a lot of auto natural 20s to deal with, but you did have their ridiculous DR dash.
Plus, great Cyclops are actually weaker than regular Cyclops. I mean, they're not really. Yeah. They're stronger, but they don't have the auto natural 20.
Yes, they don't. So... But he just hit really, really, really hard for huge amounts of damage.
Yes. Oh, no.
If he hit.
But he didn't have the natural 20.
Yes.
And so that was very important. And we were able to use our normal tactics against him. Plus, we ambushed him too. It wasn't actually as bad as the 10 Cyclops and the greater Cyclops, and the fighter Cyclops were. So after we took him and his out, unfortunately, he may have gone down easier in some ways, but if I recall correctly, the acoustics of the room was not such that we could completely prevent anything from being heard via silence.
Yes.
But it was clearly not obvious that a battle was going on from the distance. The next
fight was pretty far away.
Because the next fight was far away.
So it did not immediately trigger the next fight.
But they might have noticed something was up. So we decided we had to go in pretty much right away into the next area where the boss was.
And that's where you dealt with a group of Godalkos, and I had made there be a boss among them as well. Instead of just using the two basic Godalkos, because that wouldn't have been enough for you guys at your level.
That's right.
And they were guarding they were in this giant room with this strange eye in it, and with a strange eye that was sort of like a scrying sensor and a bunch of other stuff going on. So you guys were able to you guys were fighting against those. You definitely have used a lot of resources at this point, like just fighting and fighting and fighting. So there were also some hazards that I added around this room. So it was just kind of a tricky fight where you were having to deal with the maneuverability and the height disparities, where the Cyclops or the Godalkos had a much easier time climbing the Cyclops-sized steps than you guys did.
That's right. That was like a guardian area for a treasure.
Yes.
So I guess I did remember right, which was that I remember that the Great Cyclops was
leader.
He was
the leader of the
Cyclops.
He was the leader of the Cyclopses. There was one more. I had remembered that there was one more boss level fight, and that's what this was.
You made that into a really giant set piece battle that we had to use all of our tactics and maneuverability to take it out. So once we did that, it was mostly mopping up the remaining Cyclops and trying to make sure those gargoyle scouts didn't get out, where they could just hide somewhere and come after us later. This wasn't as easy as I just made it sound with using the verb mop, because of the fact that it was basically a giant ongoing battle that involved such tactics as like ducking into a building so that not as many Cyclops could come at us at the same time, so we could limit that. Using the reach from Ty's, not Ty, didn't really belong to her, but she was carrying it. That boarding pike of OP, plus the Great Mother's reach to stop Cyclops from getting to us. Again, tripping them.
So if you're familiar with the number of Cyclops that are in this AP, I didn't buff the basic Cyclops, I just made there be a lot more of them. So that 10 in that normal encounter is how many there normally would have been, but I also added more Cyclops to other areas that didn't previously have anything in them.
There were a lot. I think Saber had the advanced template. But,
I advanced a lot of things, but
we were potentially a level or two higher and a larger group.
Yeah.
So you would have if you did it all and just keeping the same numbers of Cyclops, but making them each individually stronger, made them like up to 3 levels stronger.
Yeah,
so instead,
that's right.
There were a ton.
I didn't do like a big customization.
Yeah, there were a ton.
I can't remember exactly when I tossed
the simple advanced template.
Yeah,
I think. I'm not positive.
I'm not gonna remember. I tossed that in a lot of things.
There were just a lot. So it was a running fight, and we used basically guerrilla tactics, going into places so they couldn't get us from too far away and make ranged attacks, tripping them before they could get in to just prevent the number of times they could get those natural 20s against us. And a lot of the time, we actually stopped entire groups from getting any natural 20s. Then the gargoyles came in, and they were just starting to become a pain. They were highly maneuverable. I think they had a lot of class levels, and Linda had built them to be just very annoying harriers.
Yeah.
Plus, flying is not that easy for our group, but Rin had an ability to get into the air. Hector made sure... Aram can just always fly, and Hector made sure to get the others into the air in a sufficient way. When you added the Great Mother, that was very important to make sure not a single one of those stupid gargoyles got out.
So you managed to take this entire dungeon area in a single day.
Yes, and a significant percentage of it was this giant on-running fight. Almost like, those side-scrollers that you would play, like arcade games where you go through and there's just, like, all these things coming to attack you constantly.
The next round.
And then more things coming. It was just kind of like that on the way out. It was like that side-scroller and the gargoyles. But eventually we had this magic stone.
Yeah, you had recovered from the...
We got it from the Godalco room.
Yeah.
We vaguely thought, based on some of the ranting of the guy with the monkey, that, like, the stone was important in some way to what was going on, because the guy with the monkey had said, like, his master was a wizard.
And the stone also, like, was in this pedestal that was causing it to zap necromantic energy out throughout the room. It was really dangerous. And, yeah.
But he had said that, like, his master was a wizard who was doing some strange things that he didn't really know about, involving stones and weird dealings with fiends, and that it all had gone wrong. And that was about what we got out of him. Like, we didn't want to traumatize him too much. Yet, at least.
You did, however, find one of the most important things for a pirate, which was the treasure room of the Cyclopses.
Yes. Plus, I think there was a teleportation chamber.
Yeah, there is.
That's also important for pirates. We love ability to travel quickly.
Yes.
We had treasure and the ability to move treasure.
Very, very important.
Yes. I mean, that's why pirates have ships, right? Because you can travel quickly and put treasure in there.
Yes. And then you can convert that treasure into more easily transportable treasure.
That's right. So there was a lot of treasure that the Cyclops had gathered and just had from the time that this was like a city that had even more Cyclops than this.
Yes.
And so we gathered that back. The guy with the monkey was doing better, and we were able to try to get some more clues out from him. And we can probably... I think this is a pretty good stopping point.
Yeah, I think so too.
If we go for the final assault on the fort.
Yeah, we can do the fort assault,
time.
And then the fort assault can then go into what started to happen when you did have that island fully claimed.
Yeah, that's the next part of it after when you clear it out. It's like, we have a party. You did it.
Clearly, nothing will go wrong.
The fort assault still had more to go, though.
It did for sure.
Fortunately, there was no encounter that was that much scarier than 4 Animate Dreams.
It's hard to be much scarier than 4 Animate
Dreams. Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna assuage everyone. There was not any encounters that was that much harder than 4 Animate Dreams.
There weren't any Shadow Sugathi.
Yeah, there were not any Shadow Sugathi.
Shadow Sugathi.
Oh, you mean Shadow Sohugan? Are you combining the 3 Phoenix Sugathi?
No. Shadow Sugathi is a thing that I've sometimes said. I guess I didn't say it with you as much. I said it more with like John and on the Orc play tape.
Shadows and/or Sugathi.
A creature that has all of the powers of a Sugathi and all of the powers of a Shadow. So it confuses you and controls you and then runs around dealing strength damage to everyone.
I see.
It's basically an example of like just because you can do something with the CR system doesn't mean you should.
I mean, even Shadows or Sugathi are already a bit...
Well, because both Shadows and Sugathi were examples of monsters that were, like, very much handled with care, so then Shadow Sugathi was their hypothetical combination.
That makes sense. Alright. So, let's go into the pirate fort next time, and then the party after the pirate fort.
Party, woo!
And everyone likes parties. So let's say bye to YouTube. Bye, YouTube!